Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest today is slot hustler Mickey Crimm. Mickey, welcome back to Gambling with an Edge.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see you guys. Good to be back.
It is good. I don't think we've ever asked you what your very first gambling game was. How'd you get started and when was this?
Well, it was back in the early 60s, and I was just a second grader, third grader. It was a game that was played in the schoolyards in San Francisco. And, you know, all us kids back then, we were big baseball fans, and we all collected baseball cards. And, you know, all the convenience stores, for a nickel, you got a 5-pack of cards. There'd be 5 cards in it and a stick of gum. So as kids, we were big into buying those packs of gum. And we collected baseball cards. Well, there was a game we played in the schoolyard on recess and at lunchtime where two guys, well, you'd have to have a wall. Two guys would lean cards up against the wall, so many, usually 2 or 3 each, and they would be spaced about a foot apart. They would stand back 10 or 12 feet, got an imaginary line, and then you would take another baseball card and you would wing it, you know, like Chris Ferguson did with the playing cards, slicing the bananas.
Yeah.
Well, our object was to knock a baseball card down that was leaning up against the wall, and if you knocked it down, you got to pick up the card you threw plus the card you knocked down. If you missed, then your card laid on the concrete. The other guy got to throw, and if he knocked the card down, he got to pick up both cards laying on the ground plus the one that he knocked down. And you just switch back and forth, and then one guy always, most of the time, would wind up with a lot more cards than the other guy. And that was my first gambling game.
And did you practice at it?
Huh?
Did you practice at it to get?
Oh yeah, I got away from school when I started practicing the game, and I got pretty good. I don't know if the other kids were practicing or not, but I wound up with about 3,000 baseball cards. But the only problem was, as the cards got all dented and everything from slinging them against the wall, you know, so we destroyed a lot of baseball cards, and you didn't use your good cards like. You'd never use, like in those days, you'd never use a Willie Mays or Willie McCovey or a Mantle card. Rare. I think I got one Mantle card in all the packs I ever bought, you know, and, but there was one rookie. I ruined a lot of his cards. It was 1963. We all thought he was 5-0, 100-0. Couldn't do anything. Never gonna, this guy won't be in the big leagues long. So, we all played with his card, and we all destroyed his cards. His name was Pete Rose. And so I destroyed a lot of Pete Rose rookie cards.
All right, Mick, you and I were paired in a way that I think surprised us both.
Yeah, it
We
did.
were asked by the Ringer podcast to do a series, or to do an episode, and apparently they didn't have enough on either one of us that they combined us together, which was a big surprise to me, although I thought it turned out pretty good. What are your thoughts on that, Mick?
Well, you know, I enjoyed doing the show. I haven't sent it to my relatives yet. I haven't really sent any, a whole lot on my gambling career to my relatives. You know, they're all like Christians from rural Mississippi, and, gambling is not big on their, list of things a person should do. So, but. Yeah, I haven't sent that around. But, you know, I think it turned out pretty good. You know, I liked it. You know,
right.
But it's the first time I think I've told on the radio my actual how I got into gambling, which, you know, was me hitchhiking into town and figuring out a play on my first day. You know, not much money in my pocket. And I was a day laborer back then. You know, pretty much a drifter and a day laborer. And then, my first play there at, I learned it at Harris and Laughlin, pretty much changed my life. I gave up all the, my old way of doing things and then just kept with the, machine play.
All right. I recommend you listen to that, episode. You learn about his piggy banking ventures. Now you live in Montana, which is not really thought of as a hotbed for gamblers.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Montana?
Well, I'll tell you guys a big secret. I haven't really told anybody this. My mail goes to Montana and my doctors are in Montana. Now I'm I'm on the road. I'm like permanent on the road. You ever see that movie Nomadland? Well, I'm a nomad, but not like those nomads. They're roaming around the country living in their vans. I have a van, but I don't live in it. I stay in casino hotels. And I mostly get a free ride. I probably every month, it just kind of developed over the last 5-6 years, where every month it rolls, I get probably a month and a half or 2 months worth of room comps coming in. So I just moved from casino to casino. I'm like virtual casino vacations. And I have a friend back in Montana. My mail goes to his house. And he goes through the mail. I pay him $50 a month. He goes through and texts me pictures of the casino mail. And that's one way I get the offers no matter where I'm at. And the other way is a lot of the casinos have moved to email and text on their offers. And that's very convenient for me because I just archive it on my phone. Also got it on my iPad, my laptop. And I just, I just go wherever I want to go at the time, and I cover a big swath of the country. A lap to me around is about 4,000 miles in a big circle around the heart of the country. And in the summertime, that actually expands out to about a 5,000-mile loop from Montana. But I always have to go back to Montana. I started out on monthly checkups. That was a real pain after I had the heart attack. Then I moved to 3-month checkups. Now my cardiologist has me on 1-year checkups. My primary has me on 4-month checkups. So I don't have to go home too much. But I don't maintain a residence there anymore. I just, like I said, I live in the casinos. I live in the casino hotels.
If you're getting all that many comps, you must be using players cards all the time, which eventually,
I use players cards.
Eventually you're going to have, lifetime win on those cards, which might get you backed off just for winning consistently. But I guess if you're moving around that much, it would take them a long time to figure that out.
Well, that's one of my techniques is the main thing you don't want to do is homestead. And everywhere I've seen where they're, guys getting pitched out of casinos, they're all locals going to the same casino every day for months at a time, years at a time. And eventually they get tired of it and throw them out. Well, I try to keep it down to 3 or 4 days at each casino. And then I might not be back to that casino for 2-3 months. And try not to wear out my welcome. And so far, I use the cards. I am playing advantage slots to get the comp. And I'm sure I'm slowing, I keep punching, every time I get a chance on a lot of your kiosks, where you swipe your card in a casino, it'll say win-loss statement. Well, I punch all those every time I see one, and I've never gotten a win-loss statement out of any of them yet through the mail. So, and everything seems to be, to me, triggered by some computer somewhere on their mail. It's not someone in marketing, designing something for you. It appears to me to be computer generated, just like you run such a wager, they offer you this. You run a bigger wager, they offer you a little more, bigger wager, a little more. I think if your wager gets too huge, you could run into scrutiny that way. But you'd be surprised out here in the middle of the country how easy it is to get room comp in the casinos. It's like, some places I might only run a $3,000 a day wager, and they just keep the comp coming. Where, my experience with like the Las Vegas Strip in the old days, the $10,000 wager wouldn't get you anything. You had to go 20,000 or higher, and they might give you some room comp. But that's not how it is out in the Indian casinos and the other gambling districts around the country, at least the ones that I go to.
Can you earn enough comps just with slots, or do you need some video poker too to get the coin in?
No, I concentrate on certain slots where you run a wager. I'm trying to think. There's one casino in Oklahoma that I have to run. They've got 9-6 jacks with 2 meters, a 0.25% straight flush meter, 0.25% royal flush meter. But they're old machines, old uprights, only crank out about 500 hands an hour. But I do beef up my wager in that particular spot because I can't get enough. They have advantage slots, but not that much, and I can't get big enough wager to keep it going in that spot unless I play the video poker. But the key to that comp is there is a cluster of casinos there in northeast Oklahoma, and so I stay there and at downstream. I get 8 days a month out of downstream, and then 4 days a month out of this other one, Indigo Sky, that's got the 9-6 jacks. But there's like 7 or 8 casinos in that area that I can run through every day if I want to. That's about the only place I can think of I run any video poker action at all. But I don't like playing anything that's like 1 or 2, giving them 1 or 2%, that's just, and then you're burning off too much time playing video poker to get any kind of wager in.
It's funny, this slot play reminds me of people who move beyond card counting. It's like they don't want to waste their time card counting because the edge is so small and it wastes your time.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even go around anymore. I don't even look for video poker plays. I know where a few are, but I don't go. I know, I used to, every casino I walk in, I go through every video poker machine looking for a mistake. Now I don't even look for a good game. I just pass them up. But there's another spot that if I don't get enough, that's right. Yeah. Choctaw, Pocola. Pocola's right out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. They have a 9-6 jacks with a 0.5% meter progressive. That if I don't get enough slot play in, I'll beef it up with, some video poker there. Now, a lot of the video pokers disappeared out of Oklahoma. Like WinStar used to have 9-6 jacks with a 0.5%. That's gone. And then, Buffalo Run up out of, Miami, Oklahoma, they had 9-6 jacks with a 0.5% meter. That's all gone. So all you get down there in Oklahoma mainly is 97, 98% games. And that's just selling the farm to get room comp. I just won't do that. And another thing, I run the wager. If they send me the comp, fine. If they don't, fine. If I get it, I'm an opportunist. I'll use it. But I don't like running, negative weight or, negative action to get room comp. It's a waste of time and money, both, because you can buy it cheaper than you're going to get it, running action playing 97, 98%.
Do the comps cover all your food as well?
I get a lot of food comp in spots. Now, Oklahoma, I don't get a whole lot. I wind up having to buy my own meals. I get a few here and there. Northern Nevada generally is where I get most of the food comps. They're pretty good up there. And in Montana, I still got Montana. I don't get anything for comp in Montana. I have to pay for everything, rooms, meals, everything. Yeah.
Do they even have slot clubs in Montana?
Yeah, they got them, but I won't join them. There's a big operator in Montana, the Town Pumps. They own 100. They have 100 casinos in the state, 20-person casinos. When you pull up to get gas, you can go in their casino and play, then go back in your car and drive off. This is Town Pump. This gas station, convenience store, casinos, and a casino. Every store's got a casino, and they got 100 locations. They have a big slot club. My guess is they're giving 0.5% back plus free play, but there's no way I want to get in their system because, they sign you in when you go in the door. They go to some mainframe computer and sign you into the machine. And, all they're going to see from me, the type of plays I get in there, it's going to be low wager and big win. And so I just don't want them to see that. I don't want to give them any kind of excuse to get rid of me. So I just tell them I make a joke out of it. I just say, because they always ask, I just say I prefer to remain anonymous. I'm wanted in 7 states for creating a nuisance. and I prefer it. You know, so that usually they laugh, and then I just go on about my business.
Do you care to divulge which 7 states those are?
No, that's a joke, but I haven't gotten any trouble with the law in a long, long time. I used to get in misdemeanor stuff years ago when I was drinking, in my early days of drinking. You know, when you get old and you're still drinking, you learn not to go in bars and get in fights because you can't win anymore.
How do you see slot gambling different today than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago, it's just the sheer number of machines that can be strategized. I take a picture of every new machine that comes out, and I just counted a couple of days ago. I got a folder on my laptop. It's over 90 machines, and I'm sure I've got a lot of pictures that are not on there. So I think there's probably over 100 games out there today, and that wasn't there 5 years ago. And then 10 years ago, if you go back 10 years, it was like, it was pretty bad. You know, I was out of it. I was in Montana, but, you know, by 2007, when I went to Montana, things had kind of run their course down there in Nevada with the advantage slots. They were getting old. If you go back to 1996, there was, you know, so I can give you some key events in advantage slot history. Late summer 1996, Williams came out with the piggy banking, shopping spree, X Factor, Safe Cracker, that line of machines that could be strategized. And then later that winter, Silicon Gaming came out with the Odyssey machines, and there was like it was a multi-game machine and like a half dozen exploitable games. Then the next spring, IGT came out with the Vision series. And that came in like 2 waves a few years apart. There was the first generation and second generation. Now, while that was all going on in the late 90s, there was also the casino openings, like, you know, Monte Carlo, New York, Bellagio, Mandalay Bay, Paris, Las Vegas. And and all of them opened up with advantage slots, and some of them had a lot. Like Mandalay Bay and Paris had a lot of advantage slots. But it was Bellagio that had, it was like the World's Fair in Bellagio when they opened. It was like half the casino floor was advantage slots. Now, at that point, some of the advantage slots went down because IGT sued Williams over violating the Telnase patent. They got a court order, and the pigs, most of the pigs were all up and down the strip. They disappeared overnight. And, now, Williams got an injunction, but it was like 80% of their machines were gone. They settled with IGT, but those machines never come back into the casino. Just the ones that were still there stayed. And then Williams moved away from those 3 real advantage slots, and they went into video slots. So anyways, at Bellagio, there were some new games introduced that slot hustlers still talk about today because they were so lucrative. Like, one game is called Globe Shopping, another was Net Pay, another one was Money Maze, and these games were just, it was like a gold mine to anybody that could figure out, you know, how to play them. And that developed heat in Bellagio. So that, you know, that was my first encounter with any real heat on machines was Bellagio. You had to watch it in there. And as a matter of fact, one player, I know you know this guy, Bob, he wrote that book, Robbing the One-Armed Bandits, that came out, like, I don't know, early 2000s. Yep. And he got banned off the Wynn properties for, you know, for advantage slot play. And he was the editor of some local newspaper, or I think it was called the Vegas Valley News or something like that. And he started writing articles about controversy of banning players, knowledgeable players. And that brought a lot of publicity. And even the Review Journal picked up on the story. And I read this one article where in the RJ where this Bellagio exec was quoted saying, "We're not comfortable with advantage slot players." You know, so that, you know, that. And then subsequent to that, 2 guys got into it in Bellagio over a machine who should get to play it. And one guy cut the other one. And one guy went to the hospital, and the other guy went to jail. That was all in the news.
Wow.
You know, And then another thing happened right at that time was, Silicon Gaming with the Odyssey machine. They got into money trouble. And IGT bought them up just to destroy the machines. They bought Silicon Gaming, all those Odyssey machines back from the casinos and had them all destroyed. So if you've got an Odyssey machine today, it's a very rare collector's item, worth a lot more than those other old used slots for sale. Okay, so basically all we had left at that point was Visions, the IGT Vision series. Well, those machines are starting to get old because they came out in 97. Now we're moving on close to 2005. Steve Wynn sold out of Mirage, and he built Wynn in 2005. I went to the Wynn opening. I was there on the day that it opened because that was the thing with slot pros back in those days. We made casino openings because you never knew what you were going to find. And some of those places turned out to be gold mines. Like I told you about Bellagio, but also Mandalay Bay, Paris, Las Vegas turned out to be worth a lot of money. But when Wynn opened in 2005, I'm there on the first day. I walked that whole casino floor and there wasn't one advantage slot on it. Nowhere. Just a total blank. So I thought, well, Steve Wynn got his fill of advantage slots at Bellagio. And, and that was kind of the wave now. That's what, all the old Vision series, those machines were getting old, getting replaced. IGT wasn't really coming with any type of advantage slots and any kind of meaningful numbers to replace them. Meanwhile, there's a company, up in New Brunswick, Canada called Spilo. And they manufactured video lottery terminals, for bars in Canada. And they were also in states like down here. They're in Montana. They're in the Oregon Video Lottery, South Dakota Video Lottery, the Illinois Video Lottery, West Virginia Video Lottery. Now this company kept coming. You go back to, I first became familiar with them in 2007. And it was like every year they had 2 or 3 new banking type games that a player could strategize and make money on. And that was going on for years. Now, Spilo was owned by G-Tech. And in 2015, G-Tech bought IGT. And I think that was a very fortuitous event for advantage slot players because it was a merger between IGT and Spilo. And I think that Spilo influence in 2015 came to IGT. And it was shortly after that IGT started coming out again with all these advantage slots. And they haven't quit to this day. They're still coming out with new games.
So, Mickey, your background was not like statistics or anything, and you would find these new games, and now, even now, you said you have like 90 or 100 games in your file. How did you go about figuring out how to beat them?
Well, the first thing you do is figure out if anything is being accumulated in the game. Something has to be banked. It's like you both might be familiar with the 3 Little Piggies. You got the blue pig, it banks free games. The yellow pig banks money, and the red pig, basically it's an opposite bank. It wipes out the lower paying symbols when you get into the bonus round. So something is being banked or accumulated there. That's the first thing you look for. And then if you see that on a slot machine, then it's time to analyze it, go into analyzing. And some games are very easy to analyze, and they take like 2 seconds. Other games are a lot more complicated. Like the big 3 Little Piggies, for instance. I might have 40 plays on that game under my belt. I've recorded some stats off of it. I think the key to that game is you need a lot of games banked into the blue pig. The other 2 pigs don't matter. And now I started playing it when I caught that blue pig at 20 or higher just to get the stats. But I don't want to play it. I think it starts at 9. I don't want to play it that low because I'm going to blow a bunch of money to get the stats. But if I play at 20, then I'm not going to lose so much money. But I'm not opposed to losing a little money to figure something out that I can make money on in the future. So I generally will start with a high number and then collect stats off the game. Like, the important stats are what the 3 Little Piggies, how many spins to trigger, what did you trigger when you triggered something, It looks to me like the key trigger is blue pig, yellow pig, or blue pig, yellow pig, red pig. Now, if you just trigger the yellow pig or the red pig, I don't need it. You keep spinning because the blue pig is big. And I think that's the key to that game. Now, the rest of it is how many spins did it take on average to trigger blue, yellow, or blue, yellow, red? And what is the cost? How much does it cost you per spin? That all you can do is record the stats off that. How much did you get dropped for on your way to the trigger? How many spins did it take you? And then the payoff, what did it pay? And you just take all that, and once you get a big enough base, you can get an idea of where you're at in the game and keep adding stats to it until you get comfortable to where you're at. I don't believe in overstatting. It's too much work to just collect stats off every game you sit down at.
It also costs you time, right? Your time is valuable. Yeah, it costs you time and money. So.
It costs you time and money. Like everything I play is on turbo speed. I don't play nothing that, I'm always on turbo speed. Get it over with, move on to the next play.
Do you ever collect stats when somebody else is playing? So you collect stats on their money.
Well, I try to swivel around in my seat so they can't see it. And I'm not going to I carry a notebook that I write stats down in, and I use running totals. I'm not going to pull out if a floor attendant's around. And if there's people close to me or whatever, I just try to swivel around in the seat. Now, there are times it gets tough. I have to remember 2 or 3 sets of stats to enter my book because I don't want to pull anything out in front of anyone. And I wind up going in the bathroom and doing it or something, or sit down somewhere else and do it. But disguise as much as I can, and I don't collect all the stats off the machine at the same time because you got your book out I would have my notebook out just way too much. It'd be way too noticeable. Like on the piggy bankers, I haven't gotten around, or the 3 little pigs, I haven't gotten around to collecting the stats on the payoffs. In other words, you collect how much anytime you trigger blue pig, yellow pig, how many free games was it, and what was the payoff. Then you figure it. Then you divide. You get enough stats, you divide it by each spin to see what each spin is worth. How many units each spin is worth, and that will tell you, if it outruns the cost or not. Track the cost over here and then the payoff over here. But I don't collect them all at the same time. But, those 3 little piggies are around, but I don't get that much play on them. And I see the ploppies punch up and always play the best pig anyway, our best setup. They don't know, they think a big yellow pig is good or a big red pig, but it's not. You need a big blue pig or forget it.
Are some of them so complicated that there's somebody you go to analyze?
I had a guy on a Keno game one time. It was so complicated that I couldn't zero in on it. All I could do was estimate it. And he's a writer for latest casino bonuses. He's very good mathematician. His name online is Mission146. And he's on Wizard of Vegas forum. He's on all the gambling forums. And he writes gambling articles for latest casino bonuses. And he's very good. He did one game for me. And I'm fixing to send him some more information on a game that I know he would be interested in. He is moving to an area where they're going to have that game. So I'm going to give him a heads up on that game.
And does he charge you for that service, or
he didn't? The first time around, no, he didn't do it. No, he just likes to have fun with numbers. He just likes to exercise. I guess exercise his brain with doing its combinations and permutations. But some games that they're very complicated, I can't think up the formula, the entire formula. I can think up like 90% of it, but I can't think up 100% of the formula. That's all it is. Taking up the formula to figure it out. That's pretty much all it is.
All right. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll get back to Mickey Crimm and talking about slots and stuff.
If you're serious about card counting, the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership is a great way to learn, train, network, and get the resources you need to succeed. We've had quite a few guests on Gambling with an Edge who exclusively trained and got their start through Blackjack Apprenticeship. Check out the website at blackjackapprenticeship.com. They have member forums, training software, and guides to help you learn. That's blackjackapprenticeship.com, and you will find a link in the show notes.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is split card poker. This is the coins per hand game where periodically on the deal or on the draw, not both, you receive a split card. A split card may be any card. Once the split card is chosen, the additional card may be of equal value or the same rank, one slot up or one slot down. For example, if the ace of clubs is a split card, it is equally likely to be the ace king of clubs, the ace deuce of clubs, or two aces of clubs. The only pay schedule addition is 5 of a kind on non-wild card games and 5 deuces on deuces wild variations.
Everyone seems to be talking about sports betting lately. If you're looking to learn more about how you can profit from the sports betting gold rush, then unabated.com is a great resource for you. Founded by frequent Gambling with an Edge guests, Captain Jack and Rufus Peabody, Unabated has free educational articles and an odds screen to help you shop lines. If you bet props, their essentials tier has projections and simulators you won't find anywhere else. Premium tier membership adds an array of pricing calculators, in-game tools, and the most advanced real-time odds screen available. Take a trial run with their tools to decide if unabated.com is right for you.
All right, we're back talking to Mickey Crimm. Now, we said briefly that some casinos are kicking out slot players, and you mentioned that you're only there 2 or 3 days in a row, and so you largely avoid that. But do you do anything in addition to rotating casinos to improve your chances of not being kicked out?
Well, I'm not admitting to anything here, but I know what other pros do. You take a game like Regal. They get it close, they'll pull the card. And Regal's the type of game where you're generally gonna be behind by the time you get the free wilds or the free spins. So you get it within striking distance, and they'll pull the card. You take a game like Money Storm Deluxe. I don't know if you're familiar with that series of games. Money Storm Deluxe, Coyote Moon Deluxe, Lobster Mania Deluxe. When you get it close to, it's the type of game that they're must hits, but it's the type of game where it always runs to the top, but it doesn't have a very long cycle to get to the top. Like the bottom meter only takes from reset, only takes 300 spins to get it to the top. So I generally will play it, and when it's like only 80 spins to go to the left, that will put it at the top. And 90% of the time you run it to the top, so it's just, a lot of guys, when they get it close in the, last couple of spins, they'll pull the card out. Pulling the card out in the middle of a spin doesn't work because it's going to stay registered until you complete the spin. And if you go into a bonus round, it's not going to unregister. It won't unregister until you complete that bonus round. So just getting a game close, like on Money Storm Deluxe, within a couple spins, and then guys will pull the card, and you're generally stuck. It's got a pretty good drop to the game. 30-35%. So you're generally stuck until you collect the meter, or when you collect the meter. So pulling the card by a couple spins before that, letting it unregister because it will once you complete the spin, and then spinning off the last 2 spins after that to collect it. There's tricks like that. Most of the games out there, you can't do that. There's just only a few games can you do that. And another one, the River Dragons, the $5,000 will go-tos always runs to $49.90. Most guys, when it gets to $49.90, their card all of a sudden gets jimmied, down on the card reader, so it's not registering. Now whether that works or not, I don't know, but if you get on a River Dragon at $49.20, it's got a very consistent drop, about 16%. So if you get on at 49.20, by the time you get it to 49.90, you're generally stuck $3,500 or $3,500, $4,000, somewhere in that area. So now if you leave the card in, you're going to jump out ahead when you hit the meter. You're not going to be stuck anymore. You're going to be ahead $500 or $1,000. So when it hits 49.90, a lot of guys will jimmy the card. They'll leave it down there because they know they're going to take a hand pay. They won't pull the card all the way out. They just jimmy it so it's not registering, and then go ahead and play it until they hit the hand pay.
I'm sure a lot of slot players' heads are exploding right now because they hate that you're talking about these things.
Yeah.
You deal with a lot of flack over how open you are.
Oh yeah, I get all the time. I don't care anymore. I'm 70 years old. I mean, how much? I doubt if I make it to 80, with my health concerns. So, I really don't care. They can call me, and I'm used to it. I'm in the worst trolling forum there is, which is Vegas Casino Talk, for trolling. It's the absolute worst. And I got a pretty thick skin because I get called every name in the book on a daily basis on that forum. So I'm used to it. Now, I'm a nice guy on Twitter, though. Whoa, I dish it right back on BCT. But I'm a nice guy on Twitter, and if anybody trolls me on Twitter, they're gone. I just put them on, I block them right off the bat. So, but I don't carry that over to places like Twitter. But there is quite a bit, gambling Twitter. I'm networked with a lot of guys on gambling Twitter. We trade a lot of information behind the scenes on the direct messaging. I'm plugged in with guys all over the country, everywhere. And, but we try not to expose too much, but we do expose a little, in our conversations, the public conversations we have.
Yeah. If Vegas Casino Talk is that bad, why do you stay there?
I guess it's just something to do. I actually, I consider all those guys to be friends, really.
Even the trolls.
In the old days, I would literally get in a fight in a bar. We go outside, duke it out. And, next thing you know, we're back in the bar buying each other drinks, So I really, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. I actually, probably my best friend now on BCT, him and I were mortal enemies for years. And now we're like best friends on there, which is, and Bob knows him too. It's Rob Singer. Now, if he's not after you personally, he's the funniest, the absolute funniest guy in the gambling forum because people attack him. He gets attacked by everybody, but his comebacks are it's just brilliant. As long as you're not the butt of it. When I was the butt of it, it was horrible, but I'm not the butt of it anymore. So, yeah, it's just something fun to do. And, we just needle each other just for the hell of it.
Now, frequently there are, you and some other pro end up at the same machine at the same time that you can see at a glance is a positive play.
Yeah.
Sometimes, how do you handle this? You can't roll over all the time, and yet if you make a big stink, that's bad too.
Well, that goes all the way back to 1996. I've seen that stuff. I walked up on a bank of pigs in the Harrah's in Laughlin. This was in 1996, and there's this mother and daughter team. I later got to know them pretty good. But just as soon as I walk up, they're sitting watching the players, and they're going to jump on anything that's good. But just as soon as I just walked up, I wasn't there half a second. The daughter looked at me and said, "You better leave. We'll call security." And they were protecting their bank, and that's how some people get. So, to me, I don't want to win the war or win the battle just to lose the war. You got to watch out from getting thrown out of the casino, because if you get into any kind of beefs and disputes, you can lose the casino. And I've seen it. There was this couple one time at Harvey's in Lake Tahoe. They were new to advantage slot play, and they picked up on a few plays in there. And they got another slot hustler pitched out just so, they trumped him up on something, got him pitched out just so they could have it to themselves. Well, a few days later, they brought attention to themselves and what they were doing. A few days later, they got thrown out, And then I told you about that knife fight in Bellagio. But generally, when I walk up on a bank of machines, it's just like habit with me to look around and see if anyone else is eyeballing machines. That happened in Petoskey, Michigan. In Petoskey, Michigan, I was surprised that's where I met them people. I didn't really talk to them. It was a family out of Shreveport. They called them the family. They were slot hustlers. It was the mother, the dad, and two gorgeous daughters. And they were slot hustlers. So there's four of them. And they were famous across the country. The dad would get you thrown out of casinos, stuff like that. So I walk in this casino in Petoskey, Michigan, and I see a bank of dollar visions, about 8 machines. The place is busy, so I automatically turned around and looked around to see if anybody's watching these people play the visions. And then there at a table, there was, looked to me like a mother and dad and two gorgeous daughters. They were sitting there. And I just went, uh-oh, that's the family. So I knew that he would make moves on you, and I thought about it and, what to do. I just moved on. I just left the situation. I didn't try to horn in. It was 4 of them, only 1 of me. And, so it was not a good spot. And I've been known to do that. I'll just pull out of a spot if there's too many people playing. And as a matter of fact, I've not been known to do it. I do it all the time. If there's too many hustlers under one roof, I'll just leave.
Have you seen competition continue to rise over the last year or two?
I avoid, that's the reason I don't go to Las Vegas or Reno or Mississippi or New Jersey or Florida. It's because of the competition. I think, Bob asked me about if I wanted to move out to where I'm in a more central location. Well, I like it out in the hinterlands. I like it out in the out of the way casinos because you can walk in like, I walked in here a couple of weeks ago. I walked into Wind River Casino in Riverton, Wyoming, and there is a Wolf Run Eclipse with a 46 on the $8 level. It was a mini 46, and the minor was like 19, 20, somewhere in there. You don't see that, where there's people, around that know the stuff. You ain't gonna find a mini 46 on a Wolf Run Eclipse. But what wasn't paying there was getting paid. They wanted my ID and everything.
Well, an $8 machine, that's a WTP.
Well, I wound
for
up,
sure.
yeah, that's right. I got but I had a few other things in there where I had some $600, $700 tickets, and I had to show my ID to cash it. And I had never run into that before. Hand pays I do all the time, but yeah, that was and I was held up for quite a while on both those tickets, much less the hand pay on the Wolf Run Eclipse.
Do you tip on those hand pays?
Yeah, I always tip them a little something. That's just you don't want to make an enemy, and that's the reason I do it. I just don't want to make an enemy, give them an excuse to get rid of me. So I always tip a little something. Generally, on I'd say a $2,000 hand pay, I'll give them $30, $40, about it. I think, I hit a $22,000 jackpot, when was that last year in the Gold Sky. That was on Dragon Lights. I don't know if you guys know that game or not, but I hit the jackpot on that thing. I was spinning off a, Dragon Light. It was on the 50-cent level, the cheapest bet on the machine. Spinning it off, and I wound up hitting the main jackpot for $22,000, which I've done that on some machines. Hit the main jackpot, like on Aztec Chief. I hit the main jackpot on it for $8,500. There's been some other instances like that too.
There are many games that are known to be beatable. Hexbreaker is one. Rich Little Piggies is another. On some of these, do you just not even look at them because everybody knows about them, even though
there's, you take games like, I think you mentioned, like Scarab and Ocean Magic. If I'm in a spot where there's competition, it's a waste of time to check those plays. You might get one play for every 100, 150 that you check, So it's a waste of time now. But if I pull up to, say, Little River Casino in Manistee, Michigan, I'll check the Scarabs and Ocean Magics in there. The same thing with Ultimate X. If I'm in Las Vegas, am I going to check the Ultimate X's? No. I mean, this guy's going through them every hour. But if I pull up the Little River Casino in Manistee, Michigan, I'll check them, because you go through 20 machines, you might get 75 or 80 plays, as long as you haven't been there. But am I going to check them the next day? No, because I already swept them. I know there's not going to be much there. Same thing occurred in Peoria, Illinois, the Paradise Casino. Dice is spelled D-I-C-E.
Oh, what a dump.
Yeah, it's a dump. But they had some advantage slots, but, I cruise spots like that. I'm just not going to pass the casino. And they had Ultimate X in there, like 15 machines. I got plays on every machine, multiple plays. I probably got 50, 60 machine, plays off of 15 machines. So that type of stuff, like on Ultimate X, I don't mind, but going through Ultimate X's in Las Vegas, no. Not where and nowadays, these new machines like that with the Ultimate X, and they got bonus streak on them too. It takes you 15 minutes to get through the machine if you don't find any plays. If you go through every denom, you go triple play, 5 play, 10 play, then every denom, in every game, there's like 8 or 9 different games. It's 15 minutes to get through, Ultimate X and bonus streak if you don't find the play on it. So there's 4 machines sitting there, you got an hour to kill and might not find anything. Probably not going to find anything. No. So I avoid those unless I know I'm in a place where there's no Ultimate X hustlers.
How often you're walking through a casino, you see somebody playing a slot that you can tell is in an advantage state, and they have like $8 in credits, and there's nobody else watching. Do you sit down a couple seats away and wait for them to go broke and jump in, or do you just don't do that?
Not if I expect to pick up a play somewhere else in the casino. The places I go to, I don't really have to sweat anybody to get plays. And I like it like that. In the old days, what I remember about the Strip, you had to, you could spend all day walking the Strip, slot walking. Or if you seen someone that you judged up to be a tourist or whatever, just a recreational player, they didn't know much, and they're on a play that's in advantage state. Are they going to get up or not? You had to grab a seat because there were so many other hustlers around, and the only way you're going to get a play is you had to sit down and hope they would get up, instead of just spending your time walking all day. I'm not real crazy about sweating. I have done it because the play is just too big to keep going, but I'm not going to do it on plays that are not worth that much. And I generally, believe it or not, I don't spend that much time in the casinos. A lot of people think I'm in them all day. When you'll never find me in a casino, when it's busy. I'm never in a casino when it's busy. I'm in a casino 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm generally not in more than a few hours. I just run through all the machines and leave. I'll knock down everything I can, and I'll just head back to the hotel room or whatever, and do whatever. I really don't. No more. I would say maybe 3 hours a day. You might find me in a casino, and I don't spend any of it, sweating plays, that ploppies are on.
Are you on a scooter or are you walking?
Well, my health has really improved. There was a time where I needed to pull that wheelchair out of the van every casino, except in Montana where you can park real close to the front door. But, I started out 3.5 years ago, monthly checkups with both cardiologists and primary, and they moved me to 3 months as I improved. Now I'm on 1 year with the cardiologist, 4 months with the primary, and So I don't use the wheelchair that much anymore, but if my legs get tired, I will use it. I'll pull it out, and I'll use it on a huge property where you got a huge parking lot. You take like Windstar down in Thackerville, Oklahoma. You know, it's 8,500 machines. It's a mile from one end of the casino to the other. I won't go in that place without the wheelchair, period. You know, because it's just too much walking involved. And I talked to one hustler in there that wears one of those things on his belt that records how much you're walking. And he told me he walked average 15 miles a day in that casino.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a lot of walking, you know, to walk, because the plays are spread out. They're not all clustered together. They're spread out from one end of the casino to the other. But it's a huge parking lot, and it's a huge inside the casino. And then it's a long way to the hotel room. So, you know, I'll be 70 next month. I don't have the legs on me. So I bought a wheelchair. I got a pretty good one, lightweight. It's easy to get in and out of the van. If you ever have to buy a wheelchair, don't buy one that weighs 100, 150 pounds. Buy one that weighs less than 60 pounds. It's very easy to get in and out of a car compared to the heavier one. And I don't even contract mine. It'll contract. I just punch open the side door on my van, tilt the wheels back, and then shove it up in the thing. And it takes me like 2 seconds to do it. And I'll use it when I get tired. If the casino is huge, I'll use it. That's when I do use it, when it's a huge property. But I've steadily improved. My health has steadily improved. But you know, I'm still like I ain't no spring chicken. And it really, really helps against the competition. You know, I remember one time that downstream down there in northeast Oklahoma, there was a kid in there. He was a new kid slot hustling. And the first time I was in there, he picked up that I knew what I was doing. So the next time I went in there, he seen me, and he just started going around and around in a lap, hitting all the machines. And when he completed the lap, he just started a new lap, and he was checking machines that he had checked nobody had even touched since the last time he was there, just so I wouldn't get a play. And he's like 23, 24 years old, and he could walk, you know, he could speed walk that whole casino. And, you know, and there I was thinking, I can't keep up with that. You know, I'll just go out and get my wheelchair.
And on the other hand, you know, if you get getting a beef with a guy, you know, who's the casino going to throw out, the 23-year-old or the 70-year-old guy in a wheelchair?
Yeah. Well, he wound up losing that casino, but he worked it every day. He was a local. He lived nearby, and they let him get away with it for a couple of years, but he wound up losing the place. And that downstream, you know, they had a lot of advantage slot. Pretty good stop. And they send me room comp every month.
Sounds good. Mick, it's been a pleasure talking to you again. Always a pleasure. Hope to have you on again soon. At the end of our show, we have a recommended section. Richard, do you have anything to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I got this recommendation from one of our listeners. They sent me, I had recommended a Korean cop show, and they sent me this recommendation on Netflix. It's called The Glory, and it's a Korean show. It is dubbed in English, and I've been binging it with my wife. She likes it as well. It's about a woman who was horribly bullied and abused by her classmates in high school, and now she is an adult and goes back to get her revenge on these people who bullied and abused her. And I mean serious, serious abuse, like burning her with a curling iron and stuff. So anyway, it's really well done. And as I say, both my wife and I have been enjoying it, and we're almost through it, but it's very good. It's called The Glory.
Mick, do you have something to recommend to our audience today?
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've seen it. It's a movie called The Big Short. You know, I never have known much about stocks and all that kind of stuff, the stock market, and and this stuff. So but when I watched that movie, I need to watch it again because a lot of it I've forgotten, but it was fascinating to me how this guy figured out that the market was going to crash and how to take advantage of it. And he made a lot of money for him and his investors. I thought it was a pretty interesting movie. So that's what I recommend.
Very good. By the Michael Lewis book. All right. Thank you, Mick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.